Good morning, everyone. Welcome. My name is Menachem Creditor. It's my honor to serve as scholar in residence and rabbi for UJA Federation of New York. We bring you Torah and music, blessing, and community every weekday. We've been doing so since March 18th, 2020. Today it is Tuesday, November 18th, 2025. That is more than 5.5 years of Torah every single morning, of friends from all over the world finding each other to say good morning, Boker Tov, to learn together, to join together from everywhere we are, knowing that there we are together. It's good to see you, Susie and Kate. Penny, thank you. It is broadcast 1428. Jonathan and Lydia, Adele, John, good to see you. Safta Stieber, nice to see you. Linda and Amy, Marilyn and Debbie, good to see you too. Hi, Dave, Carl, Barry, and Siona. Boker Tov, friends. Hi, Michelle. Hope that you are doing well. It is a big week to be talking about Torah. Glad to be doing it with you. Eileen and Amy, Linda, Boker Tov. All right. Hi, Arlene. Let's take a breath. We're going to sing a bracha. We'll learn some Torah. Karen and Anya, Patty, Boker Tov. Here we go. Good morning, friends. It's really beautiful to see you. It's lovely when we're sharing what's going on in our lives. There are a few things I wanted to make sure to call out. Not only where we are all from, and I love when we say, hi, I am in. So we have Minnesota, New Jersey, New York. Sandy is moving back to Tucson this afternoon. Jack is on his way to the Historical Society to host the Ohio National Road Association. So cool. And Ron is sharing that his daughter and her family live in Efrat, and they always take the bus from Gush Etzion Junction. There was a terrorist attack just now, literally just now, where an Israeli man was stabbed to death, and 3 others were wounded. We are sending all of our care, all of our love, all of our prayers to those affected, to the family of the man who was murdered, and to the community that deserves safety and quiet. So all of us, friends, wherever we are from. So to Camille and Cecile and Carl and Heather and Nancy and Sharon and Cynthia, and in Iowa where Amy is, let's make sure that we don't miss a moment to stand in solidarity with our family. It's a different moment, but it is still us being us, family. Cheryl is mourning the sudden loss of her brother-in-law, sending you deep comfort. Friends, please continue sharing what is happening in your life. It's very important for us to be in each other's lives, and we have to show up and say what's going on if that's going to be our intention. To Julie Ann, who's son Danny has his birthday today. Mazel tov to you. Um, okay, let's talk a little Torah. Parshat Toldot is a reminder of all the things we just shared, which is that family matters. And in the book of Genesis, it's important to remember that this is the family story. This is the origin story of who we are and where we come from. So often we see ourselves in the national story. Certainly in the modern world we do this. But beginning with the book of Exodus, it's the story of Am Yisrael, the nation, the people of Israel. But remember, Yisrael was a person. A person. And so where we are right now is as people in a family unit. This is a story of a mishpacha, just a simpler version, a microcosm of the national story. This is pretty remarkable to think about because every one of these characters looms larger than life. If I say the name Jacob, you might say Yisrael. Ah, the nation. No, someone named Jacob. Yeah, but he wrestled with an angel. Yes, but he was also just a person whose parents in this week's Parsha are struggling, and not even openly. Struggling because one overhears the other, one is older. The estate planning process, just to use a very modern term, is not going the way that they both want it to go. Here's the details of the story. And Nancy, I'm looking forward to visiting your shul this Shabbat as scholar in residence. It'll be fun to spend time with you. People are sharing more information. I don't want to miss this. So pardon me for interrupting the narrative. Susie's sending support to you that your friend is being moved to hospice, and John supporting you, giving you comfort upon the loss of your uncle Aaron. Thank you everyone for continuing to share. That matters as much as anything else I'm saying. That's what community, of course, calls for. That's what family is supposed to be. So, the details of the story that I was referring to are that Toldot includes the story of Yitzchak, Isaac, whose eyes are becoming dim. He's older. And the dynamic between his sons is very complicated because his favored son of the twins that are born is Esav. But Rivka, Isaac's wife, favors Jacob. Now we know the way the story goes, that Jacob will end up being the chosen one in the next generation. But it is essential for us to understand that this is a dynamic that happens lots of times. The Torah is a paradigm for what actually happens in the world. Yes, the miracles point to things beyond our understanding and beyond our experience, but the family dynamic is absolutely present. If there's a dramatic story that we know of in our world, it probably mirrors something that is spoken about in the Parsha, in one Parsha or another. Well, in this one, Isaac is dying, and it's time for him to give his deepest blessing. And the way the world works in the Torah, the ancient world, is often termed primogeniture, which is only the eldest son will inherit the birthright, the blessing, the property. In this case, even though they were twins, that's Esav. Esav was born first. And in fact, Yaakov, Jacob, his name means Akev, the heel. He is born holding on to the heel of his brother, which cannot literally be true. We can't do that when we are barely born or infants. But it tells you a few essential things about the character of Jacob, and we'll explore him later. It tells you that he and his life, for much of it, are defined by his relationship to others. It's not a self-differentiated identity. Not yet. In this family dynamic, in this terribly fragile moment, where Isaac can give his blessing, must give his blessing, he calls his son Esav in and says, "Go hunt for me so that I can eat the food that you will bring and give you my deepest blessing." Esav leaves. Rebecca overhears that conversation, and she conspires to make Jacob her favorite son, pretend to be Esau to get the blessing. We know this story. We know this story. And we still read it as if it happened just this way. And we have so many questions. This parsha provokes so many questions. I want to address just one of them. I want to use what is perhaps the most, when I say pathetic, I don't mean it in an insulting way. I mean that there is pathos. There is such emotionality in this. Right after Jacob does pretend to be Esau and take the blessing, receive the blessing from their father Isaac, and leaves, Esau, who was supposed to receive that blessing, comes back into the room, and his father says, "Who are you?" He says, "I'm Esau. I'm here to receive the blessing like you told me." And Isaac says, I already gave that blessing to your brother. And then I'll just use an English phrase. It's one of the translations of this verse from Genesis 27, verse 38. "Have you but one blessing, Father? Bless me too, Father." Imagine the tone. Imagine Esau's face. Tradition doesn't treat Esau kindly. He's often villainized and demonized by rabbinic text as either being a buffoon or being evil, being unworthy. And maybe that's true, but the Torah text doesn't make clear that there's something wrong with Esau. It tells you that Rebekah preferred Jacob. And the story of Genesis is the story of the younger son overturning primogeniture over and over. Yishmael does not inherit, Isaac does. Esau does not inherit, Jacob does. And Reuven, Jacob's eldest child, does not inherit, Joseph and his children do. Esau, as Arlene points out, Esau loved his father. He was an emotional person. And he said, "Don't you have a blessing for me too?" I want to say that again because it is so important for us to hear humanity, even where we are taught not to hear it. To imagine that humanity resides where we are not taught to see it. He says, "Don't you love me too, Dad? Don't you have a blessing for me?" And you and I would probably have a response that goes something like this: "Of course, love. There's more than enough blessing for you. There's more than enough blessing for all of our children. This is not a world where love is in short supply. We know that. Be you our biological children, our neighbors' children, children we will never meet but know you exist. There's enough love for you. Of course there's enough blessing for you." I'd like us to sit in this just for a moment. I don't want to offer some midrashic explanation. I just want to hear Esau's question and let it pierce my heart. He did get a blessing, as Rosa's pointing out. I want to read, Rosa, your comment. She writes, "I think that Esau was still blessed. He got what suited him. It just was not immediately apparent. We can see it, but he couldn't, hence the pain." That's actually a beautiful way of seeing it, that he does receive a blessing from Isaac, that's true. But the pain of having the blessing he anticipated robbed of him, that is painful. Ayala writes, "I have a hard time with the way Esau is treated by our commentators. I think of him as the hunter who is not an intellectual." So she asks, why does Jewish tradition not value that? It's a good question. Tradition is also created by people, and it might not be the book of Genesis, but our interpreters, by the way, we are also those interpreters. It's not like they were interpreters in the past and they're the only ones with something authentic to say. Right now we are saying things. Linda is speaking from her experience. She said, "I know this feeling. My parents favored my brothers." That must hurt. There is something essential, friends, about taking our places as interpreters of the text and allowing it to speak directly to us. In fact, one of my favorite phrases is from the philosopher Martin Buber. He said that one of his favorite things to do was to extricate Judaism from the rubble of rabbinism. Because often our eyes are clouded over and we see text through the interpretive frames, and we don't see the text as its own raw truth. If you hear a child saying, "Don't you have blessing for me, Dad?" Please. We answer with our hearts from our lived experience. And I want to offer this to you. Of course, there's enough love for you, no matter who you are. Of course, there's enough blessing for you. Of course, there is. We are created in the image of God, and God's overflowing heart created this universe, including each of us. None of us is more or less worthy than any of us. There's enough blessing. There's enough love for you, for me, for everybody. That's the world we should envision. Yes, Esav received blessing. Rosa, you're right. Ayala, you're right. Our tradition doesn't judge Esav kindly. There are times where traditions change. We can't be Pollyannish about cruelty, and I think the rabbis were also discussing the cruelty that they saw in the powerful other. And so one of the reasons that our tradition is less kind to Esav is because muscular nations around us, remember Esav was muscular nations around us were not kind to us. And the way that we could express our own defense was not geopolitics at the time. It was by saying, no, the blessing belongs to Jacob. But maybe we can dream about a world where Jacob and Esav both can be in the room at the same time and know that blessings are abundant, that love is abundant. So let's take a breath, friends. Let's take a breath. Let's send our hearts all the way to the east, specifically to those affected by the attack at Gush Etzion today, and to everyone who wonders if there's enough blessing and love in the world for them. We can sing that passionately. We can love that much. Kolon balevav penima nefesh Yehudi homia ulefate mizrach kadima ayin letzion Sophia od lo avda tikvateinu התקווה בת שנות 2000 להיות עם חופשי בארצנו ארץ ציון וירושלים להיות עם חופשי בארצנו ארץ ציון Virushalayim. Am Yisrael Chai. See you tomorrow, my friends.